Santa Maria Connect Young Professionals is a platform focused on building business, community leaders, and relationships throughout the Santa Maria Valley. We acknowledge that injustice exists in our community and believe that Black and minority members of our community deserve both our voice and our commitment in action in condemning injustice and advocating for a community that values everyone. Today, we sit down and have a conversation with community and organizational leaders to discuss the impact of racism and discrimination in the Santa Maria Valley and the possibilities in transforming society and organizational systems to be more just and equitable in our community. We hear from local leaders how young professionals can do their part professionally and personally to lead real change in our community.
Welcome, everyone. We live in truly extraordinary times, and we have an opportunity now really to see the impact of social movements, particularly the Black Lives Matter movement, on what it means here in Santa Maria and the Central Coast. We have the opportunity to write the chapter of this extraordinary opportunity we have right here. So it's been said that the Black Lives Matter is a leader-full movement. And that makes a responsibility for all of us to consider what are we doing as leaders, but also what are we doing to cultivate leadership in our community. And really that's what we're here to talk about today. So I'd like to introduce the wonderful panelists that we have here today to really engage in this deep and important conversation. So I'd like to start with Karen Gridiron. She is the Director of Sales at Radisson Hotel here in Santa Maria.
Thank you.
I'd also like to introduce Krista Delia. She is the Chief Operating Officer for the Santa Maria YMCA.
Thank you.
We have Noemi Ornelas. She is at Allan Hancock College, the Associate Superintendent and Vice President for Student Services.
Thank you.
We have LaWanda Lyon Pruitt, and she is the president of the Santa Maria-Lompoc National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, which we know as the NAACP.
Yes, thank you.
And then we have Sue Anderson. She is the president and chief operating officer of Marian Regional Medical Center. And I'm honored to help facilitate this important conversation. So as we move into this, I'd like to start by asking each one of you, I'm a student of the concept of start with the end in mind. So we're here to create a more just and equitable future society. And what I'd like to know is, what does that look like for each of you? So maybe we'll go around the table, we'll let this happen organically, but we'll start here. Karen, what does this just and equitable society look like for you?
I think first and foremost, like I said, we have to lead by example. As leaders in the community, whatever capacity that we have, it is our responsibility to show those generations and everyone around us that it is an important subject matter, but that we have to be the ones to undergird the generation under us to help them do what we would like them to do to see change facilitated now as well as in the future. So I think it really is our responsibility to be upright citizens and be that example by not just word, but by deed.
Thank you so much. Krista.
Yeah, not to just echo what Karen said, but in order to see change in a world, I think we have to get to a place where all people can, sit at a table like this and have a conversation and have dialogue and be able to be vulnerable in a situation and not be afraid to be heard and seen, and to be able to be empathetic. And I think that's kind of key, and I think it sounds easy, but not all people have empathy. It's a learned behavior, right? And so I think we have to get to a place where we can have dialogue that's authentic and true and real and safe.
Thank you. Noemi.
Those are all great comments. I'm going to go from an educator's perspective. I really think that creating access to education is a way to address some inequities in our community specifically. So really working closely with our school districts and our partners to ensure that our children and our students have role models to create those paths to enhance their educational opportunities here in Santa Maria.
Thank you so much. LaWanda.
For me, I stand on the shoulder of many African American freedom fighters and slaves, and not just African Americans, but a lot of people who have died and paid the ultimate sacrifice so that you and I may enjoy the blessings of freedoms, and everyone may enjoy those same blessings. So I envision a society, which is our vision for the NAACP, a society without discrimination. No one is discriminated against. All systems are reviewed and they're dismantled. And this includes everything from policing to our city council, our government, our schools, a society where people are culturally competent. They're trained at home. They're trained at home about systemic racism, about equity, about justice, and about fairness. They're not only, it's not left to the schools, but then once they get to school, then the teacher starts there in our elementary school. They're given cultural competency classes. Once they get to high school, the same thing. And just a well-balanced society in which everyone is treated with dignity and respect.
Thank you so much. Sue.
Those are all so good. What I was thinking about is we were founded, our hospital was founded 80 years ago by the Sisters of St. Francis, and not that long ago, I was at one of their events and they were showing a video, and it was a video of all these people that had hatred for others. It was, you know, like someone hated Germans and someone else hated another group, and they put them all in a room and they voiced their hatreds and stuff, and then they took DNA tests of everyone and found that everybody had a little bit of everything in them. And, you know, I think when I look at the future and long term, we're all going to be a mixture of everything. And so really, color and nationality, I mean, none of it should really matter in the future. And that's, I guess that's what I hope, is that we all become a little of everything and it doesn't matter anymore.
Thank you so much, Sue. You know, LaWanda, I think you've helped us recall all the people that came before us to get to this really historical moment, if we choose to take it on. We've been on this sort of precipice of big social change before, and now we are here. So I'd like to ask you this question. I'll ask everyone, but I'd like you to start. For you, what does the current social climate mean to you as a professional and as a person, particularly in your leadership role?
I have been on the receiving end and not the giving end. Given in for much of my life. I sat back and I watched Dr. King, all the freedom fighters, Cesar Chavez, Congressman John Lewis. I sat back and I watched them, but I didn't do anything. The old saying go, I didn't do anything. I did some things, but not what I should have been doing. And frankly, to see so many African American men and women be killed, unarmed, going to, for instance, like a 16-year-old boy putting on a hoodie to go to the store and get candy, but doesn't return home. Or a 26-year-old woman sleeping in her bed at 1 o'clock in the morning, and to have a battering ram and a no-knock warrant break into your home and kill you. Or the final straw was when I saw George Floyd for 8 minutes and 46 seconds with a knee on his neck. And it awoke something in me that it's anger, it's sadness, it's you got to do something, just the whole gamut of emotions. And I have a daughter. My daughter is 38. There are a lot of young people in our organization, and I decide it's time for me. I have to speak up. I have to speak out. I have to do what I can to change my community here in Santa Maria. I have to do what I can to change Santa Barbara County, the state of California, and the nation. We can't keep talking about it. Mm-hmm. This is a moment, and we can't let this moment pass us by like all of the other moments that we've had. Now, there have been big moments, and things have happened. For instance, like with the Civil Rights Act of 1964, in which people of color could no longer be discriminated against because of the color of their skin. We're able to sit in this room because of that. Mm-hmm. Or the Voting Rights Act, where you no longer have to be afraid to go and vote. That is one of your rights. Or Brown versus the Board of Education, in which the Supreme Court held that the separate but equal clause applies to all people. And we were able to attend school together and not go to separate schools or be given hand-me-down books. Those were moments, and those were in the 60s and the early 70s, but between the 70s and now, we have become complacent. Mm-hmm. And we kind of make a little noise, but we don't do anything. This is a moment, and this is a time and a period, and it's going to be a little bit more than being courteous. It's going to be a lot more than being courteous. We have to do something. We have to say something. We have to speak up, and we have to build partnerships, allies within our community, with our schools, with the Y, with our hospitality industry, with our hospitals. We have to build those unions and get everyone involved, as what happened after George Floyd's murder.
Thank you. Thank you. Noemi, what are your thoughts on that question of what does the current climate mean to you as a professional, as a leader?
Yeah, I think as a professional and personally as a female of color, just knowing that I myself have experienced some inequities and really I think it's been an opportunity for many to have some self-reflection on yourself, but also as a leader here in Santa Maria, really ensuring that I take an active role in being that advocate for those that don't have a seat at the table. Despite some of the inequities, I'm actually very privileged. I've been able to, complete a degree, go to college. I have a home. I have my basic needs being met. So in my role, I really see myself being that advocate for those that don't have a voice, whether it be through policy at the college level, which is something we're looking at. We're looking at institutional barriers. What is preventing our students of color from coming to campus, but also being successful and completing a degree or transferring, whatever their goal may be, but also in my daily life, how active am I in the community? I am a role model for students, and I didn't realize that until later on in life, and I need to take advantage of that. Children and the youth need to be able to see me in this role and say, I want to be like her, I can be like her, I can do this. And so really seeing myself as an advocate, but also as a role model is really important to me and to the kids that we serve. I was that kid that time ago, really looking for someone to look up to and guide me through navigating and being successful and being where I'm at. So I really see that as being my role.
Oh, that's wonderful. We all need role models that inspire us. Yeah. Sue, what are your thoughts on this question? What does this current moment mean to you?
So from a hospital leadership standpoint, we're grappling with it. We're trying to figure out how best to handle things. And what we've done even from a common spirit health side is we have a diversity, vice president of diversity and everything. And part of what they're rolling out and part of what we're going to do at the hospital is start small groups where safe spaces for people to talk. I mean, that's part of it is I think people having conversations, having the tough conversations and learning more about each other. Really, I mean, for me, I've spent so much time listening over the past few months because I've learned things I had no idea. And this sounds really minor maybe, but I heard someone say that when they go buy hair products at Walmart, it's locked up versus, and that says a lot to me. I never realized some of the things or the things about what people are having to tell their kids growing up that I don't have to tell my kids. And I think, oh my gosh, all of this is just such a, I think part of it is people need to listen to each other and hear what they're saying and hear how we can move forward. Now, on the other hand, I have a lot of hope because I was thinking about the other day as we were looking at as I was looking at the questions and all, we have, I was talking to one of the women that's on my board, and she was talking about how she was a CPA back in the 60s or whatever, and when she walked into work, they would measure her, a man would measure her skirt length to make sure her skirt wasn't higher than what the required length was. And she worked with all men, and she, they'd go to men's clubs and everything and that she was not invited to. And I think, God, look at how far we've come in that realm as women. And it gives me hope that we can get there with everything.
Thank you. Thank you so much. What are you thinking, Krista, and what this current climate means for you professionally as a leader?
Yeah, so with the why, our whole mission is to make sure that we're serving our community based on its needs. So we don't go into community and tell them what we have for them. We wait and we do surveys and, we develop programs off of that. And with this whole social climate, we're realizing that gap is just getting larger. And the people who need service with COVID and everything else that's going on, we're not able to serve them where they need to be served. And they all can't come to where we are located. And so the gap is there and it's real. And with schools, I think of myself as a young mother trying to navigate this world as a professional, but as a mother and as a wife and as an individual, and it's tough, it's hard, and there's so much fear of messing up or not being able to say the right thing, and I've realized it's okay. It's okay to not know the answers. It's okay to live in fear for a moment. It's okay to come to a table and not have the answers. And I think with the why, we're there, nationally, we're everywhere. So there's power in that. And I think now's the time to unite and to, there's a calling there, and we may not have the answer, but we can definitely develop systems to find the answers and to develop programs to help where it's needed. And I'm excited. I have hope. Absolutely, I have hope. I have to. I have 2 young babies who need that hope and who need a safe place to live and to continue to bring joy and be the joy in life. And we have to have that hope.
Thank you. Karen.
As a hospitality realm, we see all walks of life. that come through our doors. And as a woman of color, like I said, listening to all the other answers, like I said, I have to understand even first myself that I'm representative of a lot of others. Giving people hope, the possibility that they can be, like I said, assuring them that they can reach whatever goal or dream that they have. And like I said, I was actually listening to something this morning where a dream is something that you pursue without quitting. Quitting is not an option. Our future is not an option to be even thought about quitting or giving up on, because we all have legacies to fulfill. And as that leader in the community, like I said, it doesn't just stop with me. I have to look beyond mine and, how they say, my four and no more. I'm representative of my community, yes, my city, my church that I go to. My legacy can go beyond what I even realize that I could see. When they say dream, you have to dream scary big and know that we have the possibility to make a change just by having this part, this format right here, just communicating, respecting each other. And even in our unknowing, how you say, sometimes we don't know the answers. We've not experienced that. We've not had that opportunity. But knowing the communication is always available. But we have to be open to use our voices. I know there was a time I was afraid to use my voice. I would not use my voice. Oh, I'm not going to speak up. But I have learned over the last even 5-10 years, for me, I'll say the last 5 years even, that my voice needs to be heard. I have something to say. It's not, they're not going to listen to me. We have no idea who's listening to us, and this proves it here today. So using our voice to be able to facilitate for somebody that hasn't learned to use their voice yet is key.
I love that. I love this theme of hope and inspiration and grasping on the moment. It's important that we don't let it go. So I want to ask each of you now, the next question is, and I'll start with you, Krista, is how can we create change in the world now?
I think doing what we're doing today, creating more opportunities to sit at a table. I mean, that's kind of been the theme in all of our questions, is having a voice, not being afraid to use it. If I could just speak as a mom for a minute, our little ones are looking at us. Even if the table's not willing to listen, my daughter sees me going to work every day, and she knows what I do for a living, and she's proud. And if I can make her proud, I did my job. I know I'm doing the right thing. And raising a son, knowing that his mom is a leader in his community, that's powerful. And just raising little ones to be kind. And I was raised in a household where color wasn't necessarily talked about. It was more about who you are as a person, who's your character, to be kind. And raising my little ones here, I thought I was doing enough. I was teaching them to be good citizens, to be kind. And now I'm realizing it's okay, and it's important to talk about race in your household, and to make sure that they do see color. And it's a beautiful thing to see color, and we should celebrate that and not try to minimize it or to pretend like it doesn't exist, because it does exist, and we're seeing it today. And so I just think it's important to have conversations at all levels, from our littles to our babies to adults to our elderlies. Just sit in and listen.
Thank you. Sue, what can we do to create change now?
I agree. I agree with everything you said. That a lot of it for us is going to be around educating ourselves and having small group conversations where people feel safe. It's got to be more than that, though, too. It's funny, as you were talking, I was thinking back to my son. When he went to preschool, they'd get stamps on their hands, and, he's a grown adult now, but they'd get stamps on their hands, and they never realized that the kids they played with had different color skin or anything, until they realized that, on his skin, the stamp doesn't show up as much and stuff. And I thought, okay, why do they then grow up with different thoughts and feelings. We have to bottle that and make it so that they're educated about, like you said, we can't be afraid about talking about it and making them aware and making them empathetic to others. I mean, I think empathy is a lot of it, probably.
LaWanda, how do you think we can create change now?
Well, silence is not an option.
No, it's not.
It's not an option.
That's why we're here to talk.
Right, and we have to speak up. We have to listen. We have to amplify the voices of other people, those who are afraid and can't, are afraid to speak up and to talk for themselves. Small groups, baby steps, give them talking points, listen to them and listen actively. Benjamin Franklin, I think, said it best. Those who are unaffected has to become just as outraged as those who are. And I saw that. It was just really amazing to see the end of May and the beginning of June, even in Santa Maria. We had a march. We've never had that many people come out before. And I would say thousands of people came out. And it was just amazing to see and to have that solidarity and that support.
Yeah. And part of this conversation is keeping that momentum going so the moment isn't lost again.
Right. Absolutely.
Noemi.
These have all been great answers, and I think one of the things that resonated with me is building trust with our community. That's really important. We need to build trust with those individuals that need the support and assistance. I also think it's important for this community to prioritize and provide resources to create action. I think having the conversations and listening are step one. It's really the next step of really what are we going to do? And I think the more our community can begin to see that we're responding by taking action, I really believe that that'll help build trust in community and strengthen our efforts in addressing social inequalities.
Yeah, that's great. And I love that what steps can people take? And that's great, because the next question was really about that. If you were mentoring or working with a young professional, what steps would you counsel, coach them on taking in order to really move the society towards this transformational change that is well overdue?
Yeah, I think one is really meeting the youth where they're at. We often feel as professionals or leaders or older adults that we have all the answers to address their concerns. And what I have found in education is the students teach me the most about what we have to do to improve their lives and improve their concerns, talk about their concerns. So really is listening to them and what they feel needs to change. And I can tell you that once you build that trust, the students will open up, our community, our youth will open up and tell you what they need. So I think in terms of the youth is really creating a space for them to be able to let us know what they need. But once again, I think that part of building that trust is really taking action and demonstrating to them that you really care. They need to genuinely feel that you care about their future for them to build that trust and for them to get involved and take action. And I think there's a lot of great organizations that are doing that already. Kiwanis is one of them. We have a Key Club. We're establishing a club on our campus. So it's really finding those outlets for students to get involved in many different ways and keep them actively engaged. And once again, that involves resources. So we need funding. We need to provide those programs for the youth to be able to participate in.
Well, and you bring up the idea of being a role model. So maybe a second part to this question, and everyone will get a chance to answer it. What are you personally doing? What steps are you taking?
I think one of the things that I do is I provide mentorship. So I mentor students. I am open. I have an open door policy. A lot of our students on our campus, as a vice president, when I was in college, I didn't know my vice president. I was afraid to even know what a dean was. Our students know who I am. I walk around our campus. I go to their sporting events. I'm out in the community. I also have children, so I'm at their sporting events and people recognize me. Oh, are you from Hancock? Are you a counselor? Can I get help? So I think having that ongoing involvement with our youth and them seeing you outside of your office setting is really, really important. And I think having those maybe off the side personal mentoring moments and letting them know that you believe in them and that they can continue their education has really helped me out in trying to help change the trajectory for the students.
Yeah, thank you. Well, and Krista, you're at the YMCA. I know it's not all young people, but again, the two-part question, you know, what would you advise, mentor a young person, the steps that they can take, and what steps do you personally take?
Yeah, I would say it's the same. What I would advise somebody and what I'm doing, to be active and be involved, to show up and suit up, to stay humble, and to fight for what you believe in, and to not lose your authenticity. It's easy in the climate that we're in to kind of get steered in a different direction because those voices are louder, and to not lose sight of who you are, I think, is important. But the whole reason why I showed up today, believe it or not, people in my corner, the advice was, oh, I can't believe you're going. And, oh, do you think that's the safe move? And,
just to engage in this conversation?
To engage in the conversation, to partake in it, to, I'm a nonprofit. I rely on funders for everything. And this conversation is scary for some people.
It is.
And I decided I'm not going to allow fear to stop me, and I'm not going to allow fear to stop the conversation. And I don't think that there could possibly be any wrong with listening and with being authentic to who I am as a person in this community, and wanting more. So I think that would be my advice is don't let somebody dull your light, right?
That's right. Right. Sue, what are your thoughts on this topic?
Mine were a little different in the sense that I agree with everything everybody said, but you know, thinking about Allan Hancock College, so it's so important for really the future of everybody. I mean, in healthcare, we have so many good jobs for people, and if they can get into nursing programs, if they can get into tech programs, you know, I've talked to Allan Hancock about developing new programs in our community where, you know, to train radiology techs and OR techs and you know, jobs that we have to go outside the area to fill. I'd like to see us develop some of those programs because they're good paying jobs that could give people a pathway, you know, to have a good future and be able to support themselves and all. And I think that's probably one of the keys is us all working together to try and make that happen for people and making sure that among that we get all kinds of students and all diversities into these programs so that we can affect the future.
LaWanda.
Yes.
What steps would you take? And I have to acknowledge your authenticity in that you sat out some other opportunities and you're not now. So what steps are you taking? How do you inspire other people to take those important steps?
Usually whenever the NAACP, we have a lot of meetings, conferences, and so people have the opportunity to attend. But with COVID, we've not been able to do and offer what we normally offer. And most times when I speak, the first thing that I said to people is those who expect to reap the blessings of freedom must, like men, undergo the fatigue of supporting it. That's a Thomas Paine quote from 1777. And it still holds true today.
Yes, it does.
And so I tell people, impact your democracy. That's the first thing that you can do. You need to vote.
Yes.
So the first thing that you can do when you're old enough is you must vote.
Every election, not just the national election.
Yes.
Change happens at the local level. This is our chapter here in the Central Coast, Santa Maria Valley, Lompoc, Santa Barbara County. We need to vote locally in the off-presidential elections.
Right, right.
As well.
We also need to acknowledge our history. You can't move forward if you don't acknowledge your past.
That's right.
So we need to acknowledge our history and affirm it. Now the movement, the civil rights movement, it began after the Brown decision in 1954, where it was nonviolent protests, it was peaceful, but it was persistent. And as a result of that, look what we accomplished.
That's right.
So you have to demand persistently. Use your platform to speak up, to speak out, attend school board meetings, city council meetings, but do something. You have to do something. On a personal level, I'm probably too active in my community. I attend most school board meetings, particularly like at the joint high school level and at the local level, like the elementary. If I can't attend, then I have someone that attend. Recently, we started a monthly column with the Santa Maria Times, and it's called Black Lives, Black Voices.
Oh, wonderful.
And each month, I'm trying to write something that is relevant. Not just myself, but I'm also involving young people in the process. And just to talk about things that are relevant and, you know, just how people, they may say, oh, I didn't know that.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for doing that. It's very, very important. Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, in this conversation, we all agree, I think, this is very important to have. And Krista, I loved, you were honest. You said, hey, people said I shouldn't do it. Or I loved, Karen, that you said, people feel safe with me. I mean, that's really important. So we may feel frightened. We may even have people say, don't talk like that. Don't make comments like that. Don't engage with people that way. But it's important that we create a safe place for that. But also we can push and say the things that need to be said. So what would you say, we can start here at this table, whoever feels inspired first, what would you say to any young person or anyone who said, wow, I'm afraid to engage in that conversation?
Oh, don't be. Don't be afraid. Yes, you're going to have butterflies because, again, it's not something that you would normally do. But don't be afraid to have an opinion. Don't be afraid to have a voice. It's your opinion. Nobody can take that from you.
Yes.
Kind of another question, start somewhere. If I've never been a voice before, start somewhere. Any step is change. It's progress as part of the journey. And the journey takes a long time. It's kind of like pregnancy. It takes a long time when you're in it, but once it's done, you're like, oh my gosh, that was the best time. And labor was hard, but the result was amazing. It was so amazing, a lot of us did it again. So it's the same thing. So that's what I say. I think in this change and in this chapter, don't be and start somewhere. But I have to agree with LaWanda, your history. I was a person that was sheltered from my history. My dad did not share that with me. I was grown with kids till I found out what my immediate history was, and I was a descendant of Rosewood. But he did not want me to be a part of that because he did not want me to experience what they had experienced. But it's important because it's who I am.
So for those of us that might not be familiar with Rosewood, please just brief.
Rosewood was a historic town in Florida in 1923, January 1st, all because of a lie. This town that was all black, self-sustaining, literally was tortured, burned down. The entire town was either killed or they had to run for their lives because of this historic moment. My grandmother was actually pregnant with my dad in this instant, and had something happened to her, I wouldn't be here. Right. But literally, she was 7 months pregnant. She had my dad 2 months later. And with that, like I said, she was always, like I said, we knew as the racist grandma until the movie came out, and we're like, oh my God, Dad, why didn't you ever say this? You know, why didn't you ever tell? The cousins, like, you didn't know. Well, literally, he got stationed here at Vandenberg, and it was like his clearing, like, this is the perfect place. It was a melting pot. Everybody was totally nice, totally sheltered. But it was away from what he had been raised from. He didn't want me to experience that. But again, it was something that I never knew. And I had to learn that as an adult, just go, oh my gosh. It made me understand my grandmother better. She wasn't racist, she was terrified. And she never recovered from that. So again, back to the respect and understanding and empathy from folks that have gone through things. The fears, you need to recognize self-assessment. Why are you afraid? And that needs to be addressed. If you go to counseling, the first thing, we got to get to the root of the issue. We need to discover within ourselves, what's the root of the issue? Why are you afraid? Why do you feel uncomfortable? Who told you what? You need to recognize that, and we need to put that on the table to go self-assessment time.
Thank you so much for sharing your personal story, Karen. I truly appreciate it. It's through stories like that that we come to really understand the nature of the emotion and issues, and from that we can heal and move forward and create that society we want. Thank you. So, Krista, you were the one that people said, you know, don't have that conversation. You're putting yourself, your organization at risk, but you're here. I'm so glad you are. And what would you say to someone who had those same fears?
Well, basically what you just said, don't be, you know, show up. But where I wanted to kind of lead this was, I think we're underutilizing social media as a tool. And I think it's being spent as like this villain, and it's not. It's a powerful tool that we should be using more locally to raise our voices and to be unified and to show pictures of unity. And I think right now it's becoming this political stunt, and it's argumentative, and it's making people turn away from it. And I think we just need to have more people be able to have dialogue that's respected and that's safe without it becoming a beat down. And we got to figure that out, because it's a free tool that everybody has access to, that it's a tool that's not racist. It has all viewpoints on it. All walks of life have access to it. It's free. We need to utilize social media more in a better light.
Yes, thank you. Great tool. We need to use it for good, right? Make sure it stays good. We'll go around the table. So, Noemi, what would you say to people who are afraid to have this conversation?
I think it goes back to sharing our own personal stories and personalizing it for others to be able to build confidence in themselves to share their story. So the stories that we just heard are amazing. We're constantly hearing nationally, you know, what's going on, but people become afraid because of all of the mixed messages. But if we begin to message intentionally and share our stories, I think we would be able to connect with those individuals that may be afraid or may not want to speak up. I know that creating that connection again with individuals and them understanding, wow, she's gone through that. I didn't know that about her. This is what I've experienced as well. That kind of creates, once again, that trust in the community, but also that person-to-person understanding, and hopefully builds confidence in people to want to speak up.
Yeah, confidence. Yeah, to engage and speak up. Thank you. LaWanda.
You know, Santa Maria Joint Union High School District, they have a great program through Just Communities called PIDA. P-I-D-A. And I know it's parents engaged in some type of dialogue where it actually teaches the parents how to use their voice in the school district. And I was curious about it, so I attended it. And I think it was about 12 weeks. And what was amazing is to watch those parents initially when they were in the class and how they were at the end of the class. They were totally different people. So I would recommend something like that.
Can you tell us again? PIDA.
And it's a parent engagement tool that is offered through Just Communities. It's just amazing, like the parents, I mean, they have reunions, and those parents, I mean, I've seen them like in supermarkets, and they were, hello, how are you? But they were speaking up and speaking out. Additionally, one thing that we do and my community is we have people, we know they don't know what to say. They may be afraid, intimidated, whatever. So what we will do is we develop talking points. And we may give you just one line to say, but we give you something. And slowly as we do it, then you want more than one line. You may want 2 lines or 3 lines. And so we work on developing people who are afraid to speak up also.
Well, there we go, right? We know where to go to get that kind of training too.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
NAACP.
Yeah, and Just Communities,
And
but
Just Communities.
absolutely, and my community. I have a community of other organizations, and we work in solidarity to amplify people's voices.
Well, and that's what we need.
Yes,
Coming
absolutely.
together, solidarity, having these conversations.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yes.
Sue?
Yeah, as I listen to all this, especially like with Lawanda, I feel like we could so easily work together to really make change within our organizations just by opening people's eyes. And, you know, somebody was talking about, well, you were talking about history. And just last week I watched something about, I think it was like, it was a group of physicians against Cove Hospital or something like that. I forget, it was like Arkansas or somewhere. But it was like in the 1960s, I think, and they had segregated hospitals. I didn't realize that. And it talked all about, it was a group of doctors that worked at the black hospital that sued the other hospital because they couldn't get their patients the care they needed because they couldn't get to the hospital that had that, did those procedures and all. And I just thought, that didn't happen that long ago. And we have to work together to make sure things like that never ever happen again, or that, you know, maybe there's small ways that those kind of things are still going on in our societies that we're just oblivious to. We're not looking at it, we're not seeing it. And that's where the conversations come in, is opening our eyes to say, you know, well, you think it doesn't exist today, but it does, and here's how it does.
And then what can we do about it?
And then what can we do about it?
So it never happens
Right.
again, to use your words. That's right. As we're winding down, I do want to give everyone an opportunity just to, if there's anything else that's in your heart. I know you knew we were coming for this conversation. We made it through. But I want to give anyone an opportunity. Maybe you feel like you shared what you wanted to, but just any final words, inspiration for our young leaders here in Santa Maria to really reach that vision of a more just and equitable society right here.
I think just encouraging them that they can.
Yes.
That they are more than enough to make that change, that they have more than enough in them to facilitate the change. I think it's so important because, like I said, a lot of times we might not have felt supported. How Noemi said, I'm the different one. I got to accomplish so many different things, and we need to know that we take it for granted who we are sometimes and forget the impact that we have. But I think, again, just encouraging them to start somewhere. Get to know somebody that doesn't look like you. Just take the opportunity, whether it be in a different group, a social setting, or having these table talk conversations. start somewhere. If it's on social media, do a positive post. Don't just jump in because everybody else is having a negative say. Say something that's going to go out there and put it out there.
Yeah.
And yeah, you might get the backlash, but it's okay. You had your voice heard. Say it. Just go ahead and say something.
Karen, thank you. Thank you.
I would just like to piggyback on that, Karen, and get out of your gene pool. You know, don't get trapped. Like, get out of there. Go for a drive. I was raised in the north side of town in Santa Maria, and I raised my family in Orchid now, and I recently drove down Broadway on the north side of town, and my hasn't changed. It has changed. It's a different community than when I was raised in, and right there, I gotta get out of my community. I need to start being more present in the Santa Maria community. Those are the people who we serve. I need to be there and know what the struggles they're going with, because they're different, and we're talking miles apart, and it's different. It's a different community. And so just get out of your gene pool.
I love it. Yeah, good.
I would just say, speak up. Remember to speak up, to speak out. If you're afraid, just say one thing. But the way that you get involved is you need to attend school board meetings, city council meetings, so that you know who those people are, who you're electing. Maybe you go and you don't do anything. I met a woman at a city council meeting many years ago, and I never knew her name, but she was every time I went, she was always there, and that was often. And wouldn't you know it, she and I were good friends now, because she connected with other organizations, and I mean, whatever organization is, you can almost count on it that she is part of that organization. And when she went to those city council meetings, she never said anything. At whatever meeting I would see her at, she never said anything. But now, boy, you can't keep her quiet. Which is, you know, it's just really great. I sit there and I look at her and I just smile.
Yeah, I love it. This is the long game, right?
Yeah.
We need persistence.
Yes.
Show up.
Right.
The voice will follow.
Exactly.
Thank you. Thank you so much, LaWanda. Any other thoughts? Sue, you look like you're about to say something.
I had one, yeah. You know, very much along the lines of everybody else, that, you know, it is time to speak up. It also, you know, the other thought I had was that, especially like at the hospital and within Santa Maria, we are a diverse community, and we can't just have small conversations just in English either. I mean, we need to have them in Spanish. We need to make people as comfortable as possible. And, you know, that's part of what we're going to achieve to do. But that, as we've talked about, is really just step one. It's where we go from there. But I think part of it is opening people's eyes, too, to what happens right here in our community, and get people that can talk to different walks of life and educate us.
Yes, thank you. Noemi.
Yeah, I would just tell the youth that, you know, there's a lot of good people here in Santa Maria, and a lot of people that are, you know, rooting for them and to succeed, and the college is here to help them, you know, get started with their educational goals, educational dreams, and so take advantage of that. Find somebody who's going to help you, and if you can't find anybody, you know me, you know Noemi, so come and look for me and I'll help you get started.
Oh, thank you. It's such a beautiful offer, Noemi. Yes, very, very important. Well, we've had our tabletop conversation, and I want to say I'm so honored to be with you remarkable, remarkable people doing amazing work out there, both professionally and personally, and finding our voice and getting out there. And we're not alone. That's what I hear. We're not alone. We have people we can reach out to, and we need to have that conversation and customize it for our community. I'm so glad you brought up having these conversations in Spanish. reflecting who we are, because we do have this opportunity to make it our own and to make that lasting change that we want to see. So my heart is full of gratitude and inspiration, and I'm very grateful to each and every one of you. Thank you. And thank you to Santa Maria Connect for pulling it all together.
You're a great facilitator, so thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us for this very important conversation. And all of us are wishing you all the best, and that this has inspired you to search your heart, open up your mind, become aware of what's going on, and take a stand for that vision of a community that is equitable and just for everyone, here and everywhere. Thank you.